It is the most appropriate time to reflect on the shared past, so the great wisdom and lessons learnt from history may be passed on to future generations. We are living proof that time heals, and it is possible to become friends and allies. We are gathered here today in the name of peace.
Broome in 1942 was a small town on the tropical northern coast of WA, renowned for the quality of its pearls and pearl shells, but little else. On Tuesday 3rd March 1942, the tranquility of the sleepy town was shattered forever when Japanese Zero fighters attacked on Roebuck Bay and Broome Air Raids.
Japanese troops were advancing on all fronts in the Asia-Pacific theatre of war, and to many it seemed just a matter of time before an all-out attack on Australia would be launched. A few weeks earlier, orders were issued to evacuate all Allied personnel, their wives and their children, to the safety of Australia. Over a 14-day period, more than 8,000 refugees from the Dutch East Indies, now known as Indonesia, travelled through Broome en route to either Perth or Sydney. The evacuation process had been so successful it had lulled everybody into thinking that once they got to Broome, they were safe.
This illusion started to unravel when on the 28th of February the Qantas Empire flying boat Circe was downed by a Japanese bomber while flying from Java to Broome. 4 Australian and New Zealand crew and 16 Dutch, British, Singaporean, Malaysian and American civilian and military passengers lost their lives.
Despite the loss of this aircraft, everything seemed to be going well in Broome until Monday the 2nd of March, when large Japanese Navy reconnaissance flying boats were seen slowly circling over Broome. The reconnaissance confirmed the existence of a large concentration of military aircraft in the Broome area, and that an attack should be launched without delay.
Little did the Japanese know that most of the cargo on these aircraft were women and children.
At 17:05 am on the 3rd of March, a force of 9 Mitsubishi Zero fighters under the command of Lieutenant Zenshiro Miyano, a Babs reconnaissance plane, took off from Kopang to head south. The day in Broome had dawned warm and sunny, and the refugees on board basked in the warmth of the tropical sunlight and relished the distance from the war zone that they had left behind.
At 9:35 am, the Japanese aircraft rounded Entrance Point and commenced action against the 15 flying boats anchored in Roebuck Bay. The crescendo of engines instantly attracted attention across Broome. Some people heard the noise. At the first thought, there was other flying boats coming into land. Looking out across the bay, the locals soon saw there were 9 bright silver aircraft streaking across the bay at high speed. 3 peeled off and dove into an attack run over the bay. These planes were reported to have suns on their wings, and the terrified onlookers knew that they needed to run for cover.
Thick poles of smoke rose into the sky, burning oil and fuel, covering the water surface as the fueled flying boats exploded into pieces. Many people jumped overboard. Those that could swim headed for the shoreline, fighting the tide and currents. The scene was one of unspeakable horror. Parents saw children drown before their eyes as they struggled to keep them afloat, whilst shielding them from the barrage of bullets, smoke, and fire.
Willie Josina Mara Van Aglen was a little girl, not even 10 years of age. One minute she was sitting quietly inside the flying boat with her parents, Johans and Josina. The next moment they were screaming and shouting and she was in the water. She frantically looked around for her mother and father, but would never see them again.
Captain Pieter Hendrisk and his wife Jenny both died. When their bodies were later recovered, they were locked in an embrace, unwilling to part from each other, even in death.
Andrew Ireland, a member of the RAAF crew, pulled 4 Dutch aircrew and a wounded Dutch woman aboard a rubber dinghy before turning to paddle for the shore.
A RAF Catalina was hit, and 5 crewmen were killed instantly. 1 pilot managed to escape the burning wreckage. Flying Officer Manmohan Singh of the Indian Air Force. He was helped by the other survivors and managed to cling to some floating debris, but prior to being rescued, he disappeared and drowned.
Charles D'Antoine, an Aboriginal man from One Point, waiting in Broome to join the army, had rowed out to prepare a Qantas flying boat for refueling. As the strafing began, D'Antoine dived into the water to rescue women and her children that were drowning. They eventually rescued by a passing boat, then D'Antoine swam back through the burning wreckage to help others.
On the Nicole Bay, Robin Hunter, another Aboriginal man, Lawrence Bruce, a Broome resident, together with Captain Harold Mathiasen, rescued many victims from the burning bay. This was despite the fears that the bright red refueling drums on the ketch would attract the attention of the Japanese pilots.
At 9:45, the Japanese aircraft commenced action against the Broome Aerodrome, with very low-level attacking runs. Their gunnery was concentrated and accurate, and their formation flying was exemplary. There was no airfield defence at all. Flight Lieutenant Gus Winkle defended the aerodrome with Colt machine gun taken from his plane, firing bursts at the Zeros passed by. The Japanese destroyed 5 aircrafts at the aerodrome, including 2 flying fortresses and a Liberator. Another Liberator succeeded in taking off and was promptly shot down by Warrant Officer Kudo off Cable Beach, killing all but 1 on board.
Kudo flew no more than a couple of kilometers before a nicked fuel line caused the aircraft to explode and nosedive into the ocean. The pilot's body was never found.
As the Japanese Zero fighters returned up the coastline from their attack on Broome, they intercepted a Dutch DC-3. On board the aircraft, there were 12 people. Pilots, soldiers, and civilians, including a baby. The pilot was Ivan Smirnov, a highly decorated White Russian. The DC-3 aircraft did not stand a chance up against the Zero fighters. Despite being wounded and having 1 engine on fire, Smirnov managed to get the plane onto the ground at Carnot Bay.
While stranded on the beach, 3 adults and the baby died of their wounds. The remaining survivors were rescued by Aboriginal people and Brother Richard, a German monk, from the Beagle Bay mission.
Broome was attacked 3 more times during the war. During the second raid on March the 20th, an indentured Malaysian seaman, Abdul Hamid bin Juden, was killed by bomb shrapnel while he worked on the aerodrome runway extensions.
You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours. You are mine.
time has healed some of the pain from that day, and we pray for further recovery in the years to come. We live in hope for the children of today to become the adults of our future without war being the answer. We continue to live for the continuing restoration of our ties to the Japanese community, for the ability to maintain our resilience and to forge forward for healing and closure. We are gathered here today in the name of peace.